The 2024 NFL draft class featured plenty of good cornerback prospects, each with their own unique skills and weaknesses. However, the group lacked an elite top guy, which is why nobody knew the order in which they were going to come off the board, and ultimately why none of them were selected in the first 20 picks. Moving on to the 2025 season now, there are some cornerbacks in college football that are already viewed as possible elite prospects. One in particular who battled against the best of the best on his path to national glory is Michigan man Will Johnson. Looking at Will's advanced stats, he allowed 17 receptions on 38 targets, resulting in a 44.7 reception percentage. He posted a solid 17.9 snaps per reception. He nabbed 4 interceptions and allowed 0 touchdowns in coverage, leading to him having the 6th lowest pass rating allowed against him at 29.1. To put that number into perspective, if a QB only spiked the ball the entire game, he would finish with a rating of 39.6, nearly 10 points better than what Johnson allowed. The guy put up impressive stats and was a big part of Michigan winning the national championship. But how does his game translate to the NFL, and what does he need to do to maximize his draft stock next season? Let's take a look at the film and break his game down trait by trait. The thing that jumps off his film when you watch him is his length. He uses his long arms and strength to consistently redirect routes and throw off timings. Against Ohio State in his freshman season, he's lined up one-on-one against the GOAT himself, Marvin Harrison. Marv attempts to attack with a burst off the line and then dips his shoulder, which works most of the time for him due to his agility and strength. Harrison's subtle move outside catches Johnson, but Will is able to shoot his outside hand, slowing down Harrison while simultaneously turning his hips and staying latched on to Marvin. Will has a rare physical profile that allows him to compete with athletic freaks like Harrison. Here's another example. This time he's going against Odunze. Rome runs the same route that Harrison did, but with a little less precision and suddenness, as he attempts to dip his shoulder and win vertically. As soon as Rome changes direction, Will strikes with his inside arm and lands a strong blow, forcing Odunze to the sideline, giving himself an immediate advantage in the play. His length also makes him effective in press coverage. Take this snap against Maserati Marv. He's lined up about a yard off, but once he sees the hop step from Harrison, he shoots his arms and impedes Harrison's release, basically putting him into the sideline. Will Johnson has the traits to win physical battles versus elite receivers. Moving on, he's also an incredibly fluid athlete. This part of his game is evident when he's in off-man coverage. He can mirror routes with his quick feet and smooth change of direction. Here he is against speedy Bama wideout Isaiah Bond. On this 3rd and 11, Bond uses his speed to threaten deep, fakes inside, back up, and then breaks down at the sticks. Each step is perfectly mirrored by Johnson. He doesn't overcommit, trusts his technique, and dominates this snap. This kind of movement is rare for a corner that is as big as Will Johnson. And when he's backpedaling, his T-step at the end of his pedal and transition to closing on routes is elite. This is a combination of his route anticipation skills and his agility. As Bond breaks outside on this play, simultaneously Johnson is T-stepping, and he closes this distance incredibly quick. He's also a cornerback with an aggressive mindset who's willing to take risks. You'll see plays where he uses his anticipation skill to get ahead of receivers and break on routes. This can get him in trouble at times, but also leads to big defensive plays. And if you haven't already noticed, Will Johnson is a competitive player who does not back down from any competition, which is exactly what you want from a cornerback. Perfect example is the first play versus Ohio State in his freshman year. The Buckeyes run an RPO and CJ Stroud decides to pull the ball as he has Harrison isolated against Johnson. Will brings the action to Marvin and storms with a heavy press, messing up the timing on the play and forcing a throwaway. Harrison isn't used to playing against a guy who could attack with such length and speed, but also such confidence. But now we move on to weaknesses in Will Johnson's game. Let's start off with his straight line speed. Johnson is quick and agile, but when defenders get behind him, his recovery speed is only okay. Attacking him in space with vertical routes is the best way to beat him, which is what the Buckeyes did on this play. They moved Marvin inside, forcing Johnson to the slot, and they drew up a slot fade for Harrison. Harrison's speed to the sideline is difficult for Johnson to match, and this led to a routine grab. Now this part is a little nitpicky, but I'm just showing a scenario where he can be beat by quick receivers. He can also be over-aggressive. Like I mentioned before, he tends to bite on routes, attempting to make big plays. In the national championship, Odunze hit him with a double move, a sluggo, and created lots of separation, using his aggressive nature against himself and beating him with long speed. Now maybe the biggest flaw in his game is his recovery ability and locating the ball when he has his back turned downfield. When he loses a route early, he's quick to panic and will often take a pass interference call. He needs to get better at reading and playing through the receiver, getting his head around and trying to make a play on the ball, or else he's going to get a lot of flags against him in the NFL. Lastly, as a tackler, he needs to improve his finishing. He's very competitive in coverage, but winces at contact as a tackler. On one side, this makes his side of the field a target for running plays, But the bigger issue is that when his receiver catches the ball short, he struggles to bring him down, which leads to yards after the catch and big plays. This can give the opposition a lot of easy gains. Overall, Will Johnson has an elite physical profile. He has the length and play strength to disrupt receivers and redirect routes to the line of scrimmage. He does a great job of forcing receivers to the sideline and minimizing passing windows. He has the quickness and fluidity to mirror receivers in off coverage, and he breaks on passes with remarkable speed. He's an aggressive player who plays with elite anticipation that tends to win routes early and attempts to make plays on the ball. His eyes can get caught in the backfield, which leads to him being susceptible to double moves. He lacks the straight line speed to win foot races or to recover downfield. He panics when he loses early and looks to illegally interfere with the receivers instead of locating the ball. Generally, he needs to get better at playing the receiver down the field. In the run game, he needs to be more committed and ready for contact. Johnson has the build and skill set to be a shutdown cornerback on the outside. You put him at the line of scrimmage and he will make it extremely difficult for his matchup. He has a rare combination of size and movement skills, which will propel him to the top of the first round. He needs to be more consistent and minimize his negative plays if he wants to cement himself as the best cornerback in college football this season. So those are my thoughts on Will Johnson. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let me know which player you want to see in the next video. That's all for me, and I'm out.